I tried to just stand there. I was thinking he was gonna shoot a jump shot. He came down the lane and dunked it so hard, and it was just like, boom!
Lakers, because of this man, Kobe Bryant, can take over.
Kobe with a spectacular jam!
And I was like, man, I just got dunked on.
Laker Nation, what's going down? This is Lakeshow, LA, and Jim Buss, man, he's done a lot of things for this franchise, and a lot of people have been calling for this head. And you know, he made a very public timeline for himself that if the Lakers weren't competing for a Western Conference championship at the end of the third year, that he would step down. And his time is up. This is the end of at the end of this year would be the end of his third year, and so you know, it's time for him to step down. And it's kind of crazy because a lot of people are also calling for Mitch Kupchak's head, which doesn't really make sense. So I kind of made a list of things that they've accomplished over the years and the results that those accomplishments have had, you know, either negatively impacting the franchise or having a positive impact on the franchise. Now we'll start with Mitch Kupchak, and the way he started it back in 2003 was signing Gary Payton and Karl Malone. That is pretty insane of a start, you know, as a GM. And you know, we all know that team ultimately ended up going to the NBA Finals and losing to the Detroit Pistons. But I mean, ultimately, those two signings put the Lakers in a position to win a championship, which, you know, they ultimately didn't. But you know, that was one of the first things that he did. 2005, he drafted Andrew Bynum, you know, which, you know, then when Kobe was going absolutely nuts, you know, the Lakers were in a downtime then. But that was one piece that he cemented, you know, to have a championship later on down the line. And most famously, what he's known for is in 2008, he traded for Powell and didn't really give up much. I mean, he gave up, Kwame Brown, which I'm sure you guys have seen that video of Stephen A. Smith, you know, going apeshit about Kwame Brown. And yeah, I mean, that trade ended up being this. You know, so, you know, props to Mitch for making that happen for, you know, absolutely nothing. And then in 2009, he signed Ron Artest, back then known as Ron Artest, in free agency, which, you know, ended up leading to this.
Bryant looking. Artest, that's a three. Bang! Lakers by 6 with a minute.
And ultimately, that shot led to this iconic image, which will probably be, you know, Kobe's statue at the outside of Staples Center. So, you know, we can even thank Mitch Kupchak for cementing that image for the statue of Kobe Bryant. And in 2011, he pulled off this amazing trade. You know, he gave up Powell, and ultimately it backfired, but he managed to acquire Chris Paul. And, you know, looking at it back then, you know, it makes zero sense. Even to this day, I'm still a little salty about it, just because that ultimately, you know, began the downfall of the Lakers franchise. And, you know, everything was set up. You know, Lamar Odom, unfortunately, was traded, was a part of that deal. You know, his career took a downward spiral because of that. I don't know if because of that, but I'm sure that had a negative effect. I mean, he loved LA, but I mean, he got CP3, and and the trade was vetoed for reasons unknown, honestly. I mean, you know, just check this out.
There's no superstar that gets traded in this league unless the owner says go ahead with it. And in the case of New Orleans, the representative of the owner said that's not a trade we're going to make.
But that representative was you, if I'm right.
Correct. I said that New Orleans would not make the trade that had been proposed to them.
And was that the right move to make?
You know, you buy a ticket and see.
I mean, according to David Stern and all the sources back then, the trade was vetoed due to basketball reasons. You know, and as everyone knows, the NBA owned the Charlotte Hornets then, and so David Stern acted as an owner and stopped the trade from happening. You know, but it's like he gave up this trade for this trade to the Clippers, which is like, that trade makes zero sense. I mean, look at the difference in what he got for the Hornets, and due to basketball reasons, you know, I call major bullshit on that one. I mean, ultimately, that trade would have put them back at the top, you know, and we would have gotten that finals matchup with LeBron, but, you know, due to basketball reasons, that never happened. But I'm not going to say much else about that. And yeah, I mean, in 2013, he traded for Dwight and for Steve Nash. And, you know, on paper, they were the best team in the NBA. You know, even with LeBron in Miami, you know, that was going to be the NBA Finals. LeBron against Kobe. And, you know, Steve Nash ended up getting injured. Dwight Howard never ended up working out, and so those things were out of his control. But I mean, he put the pieces in place for a championship contender to be there. It just didn't end up working out. And in 2014, he drafted Julius Randle, which really fell to him at that point. And Jordan Clarkson, man, that was such a steal. And Mitch Kupchak should get a lot more credit than what he gets for drafting Jordan Clarkson so late in the second round. And I'm expecting a good year from a CJ McCollum type of year from him. So I mean, we'll see how he plays out. He drafted D'Angelo Russell the year after over Jahlil Okafor, and a lot of people weren't happy with that. People are still calling D'Angelo a bust, but I mean, I'm excited about it, and I'm happy to see that they took a risk on trying to get a superstar opposed to a for sure thing. And Russell does have that potential, and he's starting to develop a little bit more. He's starting to come along, so we'll see if he ends up turning into that future superstar point guard that the Lakers need. And also he drafted Larry Nance Jr. late in the first round, which a lot of people passed on him, which is insane. His athleticism for his size is ridiculous. The dude jumps out of the gym. Not to mention all of his fundamentals are there. His defense, his positioning on the court, his shooting is starting to be there. And man, that dude was such a steal as well late in the first round. And this offseason they drafted Ingram, which a pretty easy choice. And they drafted also Ivica Zubac, and he's been a great player so far in Summer League. He has great hands, great defense, his mid-range game is there, his free throw game is there, and so I'm expecting some good things from him. And another steal, another possible rotation player for the Lakers. Late in the second round, late in the first round. And so yeah, I mean, he's built his team from what he's been able to work. Mitch Kupchak has been able to build his team from what he has to work with, and he's done an excellent job considering the circumstances. Obviously it required a little bit of luck, but. And so now we'll go into Jim Buss and what he's done. So in 2011, Kobe Bryant most famously wanted and asked for Brian Shaw, which Brian Shaw, we'll see how he pans out as a coach. He hasn't done so well as a head coach, but they hired Mike Brown, which never got the trust of the locker room, never got their respect. He got fired 6 games into that season with Dwight and Steve Nash, and and that year alone, man, he hired Mike D'Antoni over Phil Jackson, and that landed to this, and ultimately it ended up being the end of Kobe Bryant, as we know it, because he never came back good after that, man, unfortunately. And Phil Jackson was the obvious choice for the job. He would have hopefully have put Dwight Howard into a position to succeed. Dwight Howard that's who we wanted, and considering you just traded for somebody who's on a contract year and they haven't signed an extension with you, you kind of want to please that dude and make sure that he has everything that he wants so that he can stay and re-sign with you. And instead, they signed Mike D'Antoni, which they were trying to build a system around Steve Nash, who was almost close to 40 at the time, and they just did not have the personnel to be able to run and gun like his old Phoenix Suns. I mean, in 2014, with no Phil Jackson as a head coach, the next thing was to bring him on as a vice president of basketball, and that's Jim Buss's title. And that would have been the perfect opportunity, to recognize what he did wrong, step down, bring in Phil Jackson. And Phil Jackson automatically, it's like if you're a free agent and you walk into a room and you see Phil Jackson sitting there, automatically doesn't that give you oh crap, I'm with the Lakers right now, you know what I mean? And I mean, look at the reception he got at Madison Square Garden.
Next president.
And his reason to not bring Phil was because he was afraid that there would be too many voices in the basketball decisions. And so, yeah, I mean, this video was made to, compare what each person has done. And I really hope Jim Buss steps down at the end of this year and, somebody comes along. It's time for Jerry West to come back and rebuild the squad and, make smart decisions along with Mitch Kupchak. I think both of them working together are going to do excellent things for the franchise. And so, we'll see how this year pans out. Hopefully it goes well for everybody. But at the end, I hope, the biggest thing is that Jim Buss steps down. And, so we won't hear those rants from Stephen A. Smith anymore. So yeah, this was Lakeshow LA. The Twitter handle is down here. Subscribe, and we'll be making some more videos sometime soon. Peace.